Hey guys, Keith Keller, Melbourne, Australia. And we're doing something a little bit different here today. We're using StreamYard as normal with the theme, what are the latest social media trends? And we've got some really amazing experts calling in from around the world on this. But we're actually doing this as a precursor to some live events we're running on a brand new site that we've discovered called Run the World. runtheworld.today. I really like this site, and I'm hoping you can come to some of our events that we'll be running on them. They're completely free to attend. And the one that we'll be running in conjunction with this show is Global Social Media Day, which is June 30th. June 30th in Melbourne. That will be June 29th in the US. And then you can have your own version of Global Social Media Day, and I'll attend those. But we're using the hashtag Global Social Media Day 2021, still a while to go yet. So this show today on StreamYard is about the idea of what are the trends? What are the social media trends that we need to be caring about? And more importantly, what are the opportunities that those trends bring? Got some really cool guests calling in about this. Elaine Lindsay calling in from Ottawa. My friend Debbie Norton calling in from Vienna, originally from Connecticut, but now finds herself again in Vienna, a lovely place of the world, and 2 a.m. And Gail Murphy calling in from LA about this, this really interesting topic about what's going on in the world of social media. So why don't we run the room? Gail, you started a little conversation recently about, what is a trend and why are they important? So why don't we start with that idea and start the conversation? Well, how do we define trends and why should we care about them?
Yeah, I mean, is it sort of like a guy who comes up with a new cocktail and says, oh, I'm trending, follow me, I'm trending? Or is it a phenomenon in the sense of, or a baby phenomenon in the sense of all these people are looking at the same and asking the same questions all over, like telepathy. So I think it's this is what we were talking about on the when we were messaging back to each other. We should define what our trend is for the sake of conversation, rather than leave it to the collective consciousness to decide on their own what we're talking about. And if that's fair enough for you, that's fair enough for me.
Yeah. And what do you think? What do you think some of the trends might be, and why do you think they're important to you?
What are some of them, and why do I think that? Well, it's become way more DIY. Also, it's a lot more gutsy. Instead of just messaging, it's now video. It's now audio. It's complicated now. Not complicated, but not so bare bones.
Okay, yeah. Well, let's hold that thought. Then I'll run the room with the initial question. Elaine, what do you think defines a trend, and why do you think that's important?
I'm going to partly agree with Gail. Exactly what she said makes a great deal of sense. A trend to me, it's almost like that spark of wildfire. You never know when something is suddenly going to just go bam, and all of a sudden everybody wants it. There's really no rhyme or reason to how trends run or why they happen. You're right about things being a little more DIY, but if we don't have a structure for what a trend is and what's the threshold, when does it become a trend?
That's right.
Okay, 100, 1,000, 100,000, like what makes something a trend? And I'll show my age here, but going way back to high school, in grade 9, a group of us girls here, and it kind of spread through North America. We started wearing little bandanas, golf shirts, and Lee jeans. And it became such a thing. Everybody used to rip the patches off the jeans. Don't know how or why it became a trend, because we didn't have social media. We didn't have phones. I mean,
Yeah.
we had a phone in the house, but it was a landline. So trends, I think it's cool. Noel, I hope I'm saying it right. Noel is asking, is it trends or fads? And he says he's agreeing with you, Keith, that Clubhouse is a fad and will be history by Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, Noel, I'm going to tell you that you're wrong.
Oh,
Wow.
And yeah, well, hey,
go for it,
I've
girl.
never been subtle in my life. Why the hell would I start now? The reason for that, okay, I firmly believe that the guys who put Clubhouse together did it to sell it.
Yeah,
And
of course.
all
Fair enough. Yes.
yeah, and all the work that has gone into it, and it just recently opened a little beta to Android.
Yeah.
And I've been playing around with that as well. It's not going to go away anytime soon, because prior to us getting on the air, I said it's kind of quick, down and dirty, and it doesn't matter. You don't have to be dressed. You don't have to be clean. You can be eating. You can be doing whatever you please, and you can listen into the conversations. Even getting on the stage and talking in a room is absolutely just, your voice that's doing it. Thank you, no. He says, go for it, Elaine. Totally agree. To clarify, it will be sold by, okay.
That's right.
Noel, I totally agree with you there. Think of this, okay? It kind of floundered once it started. And last year, it only started really building steam November, December. And then, bam, by the beginning of March, it was being valued at $4 billion.
$4 billion.
That's insane. There are an awful lot of really good informational rooms on Clubhouse, and I'm the first one to say I'm there with everybody else because I've always been an early adopter. I like to try everything. I still, no matter what it is, I have to say video for me is the end all be all, because I can see in a video whether you're paying attention, whether you're rolling your eyes, whether you've made some weird little emotional tick because something somebody in the room said has triggered something for you. It's a phenomenal tool. Back as early as 2011 and 2012, I suggested it to corporations for doing job interviews, because between 5 and 7 or 5 and 8 minutes into a video, people let their guard down.
Oh, very good.
And you get to see psychologically, do they step on other people when they talk? Are they sitting back and saying nothing? Are they participating at all? Are they sitting arms crossed, not part of what's going on? Put 5 people in, I guarantee you'll be able to hire the best one. That might be a little off topic, but Clubhouse, Twitter Spaces, and God help us, Hotline.
What's Hotline?
Which is Hotline is Facebook's nod.
Oh, okay. That's what they're calling it.
That's what they're calling it. They offer people a chance to have a show, and then their submit buttons don't work. Somewhat like an awful lot else lately in Facebook. Yes, I said that out loud, and I do
Mari
it again.
will hate you. Are you still friends?
Absolutely, we're friends. No, on some of these things, she totally agrees with me, because they're in such a mad rush to rush this out and make sure that they're getting social audio as well, that a lot of other things are falling by the wayside. And it's making it very difficult for small business in an already difficult situation.
Yeah.
And you can tell, Noel will tell, I've been on Clubhouse because I'm Elaine and I'm done speaking.
Yeah, okay. Well, let me bring Deb in. Deb, it's very early there. I really appreciate you calling in at 2 a.m. But the original question, which has morphed a little bit, but the original question is, what is a trend? How do you define it? and why is a trend important in this context of discussing about what to do next?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it from a perspective of corporations and what type of trends they're grabbing onto because of COVID, and things have changed so quickly that we've had to, I think brands and corporations have had to adapt and really jump on to social media at this point to reach their customers and to really have engagement. And I think that that has grown exponentially, especially with live streaming. I think that people want to hear from brands and be able to interact with them. And I think that that's something that is really quite um, innovative for brands to be
Yeah.
really active with their customers. And so that's where I'm seeing the trend as growing. And I think that Keith, you had sent out an overview about the NFTs and the QR codes and brands that are jumping onto that, which is really new. McDonald's had done it. Charmin toilet paper had done it. Gary V has even gotten in on it, on selling these coins. So all of that is around pulling engagement in, because most of us are still stuck at home. And I think that that trend has just grown exponentially, and that corporations and brands are starting to say, hey, we have to pay attention. So that's my thought on that.
Yeah, well, that's great, because that's a very good place to start the conversation. If we understand where some of the trends are taking us, this will, and Gail got me thinking here. And for me, the importance of knowing the trends and deciphering them, the data about what defines the trend, it means that I can, there's only so many hours in the day, and I want to sleep sometimes, and I want to hang out with my wife sometimes, and I want to go for a run or a walk or get a coffee. So I don't want to spend 24 hours on the computer. So by knowing what the trends are, it helps me, an Aquarian male, which says a lot. I'm an Aquarian male, so I'm a very flighty person. I'm inclined to go off on a tangent sometimes. So knowing what a trend is, what's trending, allows me to focus. If social audio is a thing, then I'll try it. I'm not inclined to try it personally. I'm not that interested in it, but I will try it because it's a trend. And that's a very good place to start with the Clubhouse versus Twitter Spaces thing. My prediction has always been that Clubhouse won't exist in its current format by Christmas. For, as Gail said, they've made it probably because they want to sell it, or is that Elaine said that? They want to sell it, and they will sell it. Someone will buy it, and it'll become a Spotify product, or a, Microsoft product, or a Disney product. So why don't we start with that trend? Social audio, 2 questions, Clubhouse versus Twitter Spaces, and who do you think will buy Clubhouse, and where will it go? Why don't you start, Elaine, because you've got a lot of ideas about this one.
Well, I can't tell you off the top of my head who will buy it, but I think there's a lot of interest because it is such a, I want to say, simplistic format. There's not as many, balls to juggle. With video, you have a lot more bandwidth, and so you've got this little piece that's probably going to be a lot easier for people to manage, even as it gets bigger. I mean, already they were 600 million people, and they hadn't even opened to Android yet, which is a whole lot. But I think the concept, and you talk about trends, and I don't think you necessarily have to jump on a trend simply because it's a trend, because there are things that are tried and true that will always work.
That's right, like email marketing.
Well, yeah, but for me, it's building a relationship with the clients. Okay, talking to your clients. For me, I'm a relationship marketer. I want to get to know my client. I want to get to know everybody, let's face it. So that there's a little bit of a sort of a damper put on when it's only social audio, specifically now because Clubhouse, if I wanted to send you a message, I can't. I either have to go to Twitter or I have to go to Instagram. You can't send a direct message. And it's not nice to stop in the middle of the stage and send a message to just one person that's in the room. The other thing that is, I think, a little bit different about Clubhouse is allowing people to make people moderators. We saw a difference in Hangouts. When more people are able to control things, there comes up a tipping point. And I've seen rooms where there's 60 people and there's 48 moderators. You know, that means the people that are in the audience can't even see who's talking because you only see a few of the profiles. And if they're not in that first 12 or 18 that you can see on the screen, then God knows who's talking. They are trying to change that. I get it. But if you're having, 25, 35, 45 moderators, it kind of defeats the purpose. And I've heard a lot of grumbling from people about the fact that they have hold these big rooms and only the moderators get to talk. People don't get called up to this.
Let me hold your thought, and I'm going to give everyone a turn on the Clubhouse idea. But how does Clubhouse differ from Twitter Spaces? Twitter Spaces is Android, is iOS, coming to PC or desktop soon. I think it has more uses. I can see myself getting quite excited about Twitter Spaces. I'm on Twitter, so I can communicate with people on Twitter Spaces. It's a good chance to meet new people, sort of like a tweet chat in a way. So what do you think the Clubhouse Twitter Spaces idea is going to, how is that going to play out?
Well, I have to agree with you because Twitter has itself built in. Okay, you can interact with people an awful lot easier than you can on Clubhouse. The other thing is this, okay? It's not the only game in town. Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse. Okay, let's talk about Discord. Let's talk about Steam. There's lots of things out there.
Yeah.
Everybody keeps going, oh, Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces, and waiting for Facebook to get in. Well, guess what, folks? Discord's been around for ages. Does the same stuff and does it pretty well.
Well, as a case in point, I don't know if you've ever got into Blog Talk Radio, but in 2008, 2008, Anne-Marie Cross and I did a radio show on blogtalkradio.com, which I don't think exists anymore. I don't think it does exist anymore. But basically, we rang in on our phones and we recorded a show of type. And then when we push stop, it sent it to iTunes. And we have 108 shows dating back from September 2008 on Blog Talk Radio. At that time, it was a thing, but it didn't really take off. And then Anchor tried it in 2015. Spotify bought Anchor and now owns Anchor.fm. So it's not a new idea. And as you said, it's not the only game in town. So I'm going to run the room. Gail, what do you think about what will happen with Clubhouse? Who do you think will buy it or could buy it? And how do you think it might differ to the Twitter variation on that idea?
Well, I like what Elaine said. It when she was talking about Twitter, that it's already included there. So that would be a huge benefit all the way. Well, certainly to the person that they're paying. I don't really think they care, but for the person who's buying it, it becomes a one-stop shopping kind of thing. So you don't have to go anywhere. And it's simple. And if it's Twitter, it'll still be simple to use. You don't have to dress up. Although if they were to add a video component to it, well, possibly that could be. Maybe it would be an upsell. What I'm thinking about is, as a business person, as an entrepreneur, how does some version of Clubhouse, be it Twitter Space or whatever, how does it benefit me?
Well, geez, that's a great question. Do you want to pick up on this, Debbie, or do you want to pick up on this, Elaine? I've got some ideas, but Debbie, do you want to pick up on this? You've been waiting patiently. First of all, what do you think Clubhouse will do? And second of all, to answer Gail's question, how does Clubhouse or social audio benefit a business?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's another platform and another avenue for them to get their messaging out if their customers are there, if their target audience is there. I think with Clubhouse, which I have not had the privilege to try on yet because it's, the Android just got pushed out, and where I am right now, it's not available. But what I did hear about Clubhouse was the ability of people to multitask. And I think that we're doing a lot of multitasking right now. And if I can grab my phone and just keep it under and plug in my earphones, I can be out and about and still be a part of a Clubhouse discussion. And I think that that's something that is unique to that platform. And I don't know how Twitter Spaces is going to handle that. But I think that the opportunity to as everybody's brought up, it's, you don't have to dress up. You don't have to be on film. You don't have to be on cam. You can step back. You can step forward. So I think the opportunities with that for brands is that they can get their messaging out. They can, kind of call. I think Gary Vee is already doing this and successfully because he's got such a great following. So it's the engagement, and that's what social is all about, right? I mean, Elaine, I've learned that from you.
Doesn't it strike you? It's like, how are you going to keep them down on the farm after they've seen Paris? We live in such a visual world right now, especially with Instagram, with taking photos and being able to shoot an entire movie on your iPhone and making it's solving crimes of body cams, and you have people that are watching it, and they're creating videos too. I think that there's a level of boredom. I mean, just in exchange for not having to wash your face or dress up or present yourself. And plus the fact, if you catch a real fish as a result of going through all the machinations of just having audio, they want to see you. And they're not going to accept just hearing you. They want to see you. They want to read your body language. They want to see how you present yourself. All those things are important. And I don't think they can be dismissed. And I think that that's a real deficit. But I do have to say something. My entire background is that I come from radio, and I've done talk radio for years. I'm a news correspondent, and I work for ABC News, BBC, Sky. And I must tell you, my reaction to Clubhouse when Keith told me about it, I just roared with laughter. It's like talk radio, and your phone is the transistor radio that you hid under your pillow when you were a teenager, so you wouldn't get busted by your parents.
Yeah. Well,
what a great analogy.
Let me pick up on this. Let's keep this idea going. So, I tried Twitter Spaces yesterday. I personally don't like it because I said exactly what Gail said. For the sake of having a shave and buying a light and a webcam, I can see you now. Mm-hmm. And the value proposition of me seeing you is worth buying a jumper and having a shave. And I think that differential makes sense. The idea of being very convenient to have, I did this Clubhouse in these Twitter Spaces at 7:15 in the morning. I mean, I just literally got out of bed and turned it on.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, it was boring. It didn't engage me. There was nothing for me to do. And I didn't like it at all.
It's one thing when you're driving in the car and you turn on the radio and it's talk radio because you got nothing else to do. So that I get. Also, the difference between, let's say, television and radio is that television, captures your audience. Radio, you could be doing anything. You could be making a sandwich. You could be ironing your clothes. You could be doing pretty much cleaning your house. It doesn't matter. You're not stuck to a chair like I'm stuck to a chair right now.
Yeah, and I think it's a very important point. So I don't think we answered the question of each person answering the question of Clubhouse, Elaine.
Yeah,
Clubhouse
I want to talk to
Spaces.
how they're monetizing it.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Because there is a massive group of podcasters. Okay, Steve Olsher, who has Podcast Magazine, he's got himself set up with a Rodecaster and his intros and his outros, and people are recording Clubhouse now, which makes it an awful lot better for them, because they're dropping all these gems and they were just sort of being flushed out wherever. There are a lot of experts that are giving all kinds of free information. And what they're doing is they're taking them onto Instagram. They're putting together polls and running webinars from the original room that is actually giving them a way to truly monetize what they've done. But I think that the little people that are just coming in are maybe not getting as much advantage, because these guys have been podcasting forever. They totally understand how it works. And if you understand the concepts and you understand funnels and you do it well, like Gary Vee and Steve Olsher and Rob Moore and all of these people. I mean, Elon Musk had a room one day, and lots of people have been in there doing rooms, because it's just that je ne sais quoi people have of, ooh, it's something new, let's give it a try. And there are people who absolutely love it, because they are getting all kinds of phenomenal information. There's an incredible TEDx talk teacher from the UK. Her name's Elaine Powell. She's absolutely phenomenal and goes into different rooms and helps people with suggestions for what they're doing with their talking and what have you. So there's subjects on everything. There are a million rooms on NFTs. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because it's a hot topic.
It is a very hot topic.
Can I just ask you a question, Elaine? One of the questions I've had many times asked to me, I don't know the answer to this, but you may, is that, and the reason I personally don't like the social audio idea is that you can't record them as typically within the platform. But can you just explain how people are recording them and how that could really, really change the game?
Well, and one other thing I want to say that has changed the game, a lot of these people now can get money sent to them. It's right on your profile, send money. Okay, very much like Patreon.
Yeah. Okay.
For whatever you're giving away. But totally lost the thread there, pardon me.
The idea of recording the and repurposing.
Yeah. This Rodecaster setup is how most people are doing it, and Clubhouse is allowing people to record however they want to do it, as long as you let people in the room know before they come into the room.
Okay.
Yeah. And that made sense.
Let me pick up on that. Gail, would that make more sense to you if you could record social audio and repurpose it? Let me set some context. You and I did an event. This is a really good example.
Okay.
You and I did an event in LA, not far from your house, on Zoom.
Yes.
And we went to great trouble to create this enormously valuable content. We created these lovely PowerPoint slides. No one got to see them other than the people that were in the room.
Yes.
I'm still waiting on the recording. And to me, that's a bit of a waste of time. I was happy to do it, and it was the people in the room got some value, but I've got no record of that.
I'll get that for you. I didn't know that. I'll get that for you. I'm all over it.
But would the idea of being able to record the audio in something like Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse change the game for you? Would that make a difference?
Well, listen, when I file for BBC, I always make sure that they send me a clip. Most of the time they don't, but sometimes that they will, and I will just, it has tire treads over it by the time I'm done with it. It's like I just paste the walls with it, and I'm happy to have it. But because I have to feed my business also, and I constantly have to make myself time-wise as relevant as I possibly can. Instead of somebody saying, "Are you still doing that stuff?" Yeah, I was on Tuesday. Yeah. So, even though I get paid, it's still very important to me. It's live and it's video, and I didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah. Well, let me pick up on what you've just said there. So, if you haven't already worked out, we're doing this show on StreamYard, which I love. StreamYard costs me $25 a month to do this almost TV quality show. But it has some limitations. So what we've decided to do is and we'll do this from today, we're going to take some snippets of this show and feed them back to Twitter and other sites, because we have a larger event on the 30th of June, Global Social Media Day. You can see there in the banner that we've got the hashtag there. And we have 8 guests speaking about this exact subject in a much wider context. So if I had have done this show and it would have just gone away, only the people that are live today would have seen it. But now I can record the MP3 and the MP4, and I can actually get much more. 6 weeks away, this event at the end of June, I can do so much with this.
Yes.
And this has always been my case. And I'll bring Deb back in this because she's been waiting patiently. Do you see the point of getting the recording as a social audio or live streaming thing, or is that not so much a part of your strategy?
No, I think that's actually rather cool, because you have the opportunity to repurpose it and to use it across multiple streams, not just, the Clubhouse or the Twitter Spaces or whatever you're in. So I think there is a lot of value to that. That's something that, Gail, we didn't really do with radio. We didn't record it. And with the thought about when we were talking about monetizing, this audio, I see this being very similar to radio and being able to sell spots. And so that's coming in. And I see that as an opportunity for brands to get their message out as they did in radio. So it is airtime, and it is valuable if your audience is there. And I think that we're going to see a lot of advertising come into that to start to pay for it, to monetize it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
I believe you already are. Okay, Steve Olsher and the big club pod and the podcaster clubs, with these roadcasters, they're actually promoting their sponsors as well.
Yeah, it fits very good. I was part of a trends study, and one of the very, very major trends is that about 55% of US citizens listen to podcasts because they can listen in the car, they can cook, they can walk the dog, they can mow the lawn, they can do other things. So if we pick up on this idea that podcasting is a lifestyle hack, you can be learning something. I know my friend Chocolate Johnny listens to Clubhouse about 8 hours a day because he's busy in the factory making chocolate, which he loves doing, but he's just got his phone in his pocket listening to stuff. He could be listening to the radio, but he might as well be listening to Elon Musk talk as listening to some radio announcer talking about the news of the day. So if it fits into your lifestyle, it becomes a lifestyle hack. This is why it's such a big trend, because it works on so many levels. But the big question that we've talked about beforehand is, does social audio have a limited life because it's only one-dimensional? What do you think? Is it only one-dimensional in the sense that it's only audio? Will people get sick of it, do you think, Elaine?
I think they'll lust for more, because humans are never content with just what you have. We're always striving for a little more. And I think that eventually could be the undoing. But it works, people with Alexa and we have Google will play your podcasts and all of that for you wherever you may be, as you said. And getting access like that allows for more multitasking. And I've said for years now that we've become such a society of immediacy. We want everything last week. Never mind yesterday.
Yeah.
We want it last week. And we want it in surround sound. We want it coming at us from every possible direction. And that's just, I think, as tech got faster, we've gone from the industrial age to the tech age, and things are leaps and bounds. We're not talking years or decades. We're talking months before things change. I mean, how many phones have you been through? Because there is a new iteration. Almost one comes off the line and the next one is already ready to come out the door.
I'm currently researching the Samsung 21.
Yeah.
And I said to my wife, look, guess what? They're working on the Samsung 22. And she goes, Keith, I've got a Samsung 7, right? And Carol says, come on, Keith. I mean, we haven't yet bought the new one, and now you're talking about replacing the one you haven't even got.
My 20 was 10 minutes old before I saw the first information on the 21.
Yeah.
That was a year ago.
So it's a very important point. So we're talking here about, will people get sick of it? Coming from Radio Go, what do you think? Do you think people will, as you said, why would you live on the farm when you can go to Paris, right?
Yeah, okay. So the first thing that came up to me, and I jotted it down, if you're listening to it on your phone, it is no different to listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not. So what they've done is they have created an application that people are already familiar with and are already doing it. So it's like a different radio station.
Yeah,
it's
different
like
radio
your
station.
It's like your phone is your transistor radio, and there's a dial inside, and on that dial, instead of 98.1 or 102.7, you have Clubhouse, you have podcast, you have all iterations of podcasting of choices that you want. We already do this.
Yeah.
We already do this. And
so it's got legs. It'll stick around.
Why do people listen to did people actually mitigate from listening to podcasts to listening to Clubhouse, or did it just suck up a whole new audience? Because I have an Android phone, I haven't been able to listen to it either.
Okay.
I've been watching it from the business side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think, I think it's a mix. Okay, you're going to have some draw from podcasts just because it's new. But there is a whole new audience of people who are a little afraid of video and think that this is going to give them another avenue, that maybe they're not ready for video, but this is a way to reach out. And I'm talking about from business perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, because I deal with a lot of small business, by and large, most of them are absolutely terrified of video. And, I said to Keith before, once we all got into the pandemic, it was like, now you're all in my world.
Yeah.
With Zoom and everything else. So this is a chance for those who are afraid or uncomfortable or annoyed with Zoom and its ilk, are going, okay, this is quick and easy. I can do this, but this gives me a different way to reach out to my customer.
You made me think of something, Elaine, and it basically has to do with the aging millennials demographic. If you've never even heard of talk radio and it's never been on your radar. This is unique. This is like, oh, wow, where did
It's
this
new.
come
It's new
from?
again. It's fresh
It
again.
is
isn't
new
it?
again. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. You're
It's like,
absolutely right.
wow.
What do you think, Deb? Yeah, what do you think,
Yeah,
Deb? You
I have
think,
a point
you think-
there. I think exactly. I'm agreeing with both Elaine and Gail immensely. What I also see with this is that it's podcasting plus the opportunity of interaction.
Yeah, the
So
interaction.
I can participate, and that is different. That's different than podcasting. That's different than radio. I couldn't.
No, talk
partic-
radio. Talk radio. They give you the
Oh, I
number
could call it.
every 90
I called
seconds.
into-
Yeah.
Yeah, I called into Car Talk. Everybody ever remember Car Talk?
Of course, yes. I love Car Talk. The two brothers in Boston. Yes.
Yes, and I miss Car Talk. But I think, here it's even a more interactive opportunity for people to speak up and to be a part of it, which is not, sitting there dialing to try to get into Car Talk to even ask a question, where
Yeah.
this is more fluid. And so that's kind of like, that's very unique.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Can I
that's
just
my-
ask a question of the group here about this idea? We talked briefly about it before the show. The idea of having a random guest, call in is quite dangerous. It's quite exciting for two reasons. One is the flow of the call is much more interesting. It's not a webinar. It's a dynamic conversation. So it could go anywhere, but because it could go anywhere, you could get a random caller. How do you propose in the future the idea of grabbing the mic, say, can be mitigated to sort of keep the conversation sort of on track? What do you think?
Well, just so that you know how talk radio works, they have an actual person on salary called a screener.
Mhm.
And it's who are you? Where do you live? What's your question? And then that's emailed to the host. And then the host can look, okay, Mary from Arcadia wants to talk about why the price of fish is so high.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
okay. I think let's talk to Mary right now in Arcadia. She's got some kind of fishy question she wants to ask. What's up, Mary? What's so fishy? But see, in talk radio, they understand and appreciate that it's infotainment. And they are very conscious of keeping it entertaining.
Yes.
And clippy, because in radio, we have something called Arbitron, which is ratings. And that's how the advertisements are sold based on your position on the Arbitron.
Well,
And you can pick up on this, Elaine, because your son's in radio, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's been in radio since 2004. Well, actually, he was in the back end for about 5 years before that, too. One thing that's maybe a little different from the talk radio and speaks to exactly what you were saying, Gail. A lot of what happens in Clubhouse is people get to tell their story.
Yeah.
And that is the hook.
Is that the host or the people that
No,
are
no.
sitting
The
there?
people that are coming on stage. That to me is the biggest hook there is, because one person will tell their story, whatever happened. There are rooms where it's about, how we rise, how things have improved, what have you gone through, where are you now, where would you like to go? All those different levels of stories give people a way to unburden themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because the room that I run, that's exactly what it's about, because we deal with the perspective of the suicide adjacent.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different rooms that I've gone in and out of. And a lot of it is people being able to air what has happened to them, what they have gone through, the wins, the losses, all of
It's
those
very
things.
empowering, isn't it?
Yeah, it's almost like Carnegie, the sweetest sound to any man is the sound of his own name. Well, getting called to stage by your name and allowing each person to tell their own story is, honest to God, worth its weight in gold, because you can win a customer for life by listening to what they have to say and either commiserating or agreeing or giving them some really good advice. And I think that's a lot of what happens there.
Is all of it therapeutic, regardless of the show that you're listening to?
Not well, funny enough, in a way, I would think so. There's a lot of rooms that are millionaires' room. The guys from Dragon's Den have a room almost every day. There's a millionaires club. There's a billionaires club. And it's not all bad, okay? I have to say there are rooms that are helping raise money for India. There are rooms that are really good. So yeah, it's definitely not all bad. Well, I don't think it's bad per se. I think it's
useless information.
Well, yeah, it's a little skewed and lacking.
Yeah.
I want to pick up on a theme I'm developing at the moment. My gut feeling, my prediction, is that in 2022 there will be a StreamYard of social audio.
Yeah.
That there will be a dashboard of sorts. Like the thing that you can't do, I'm sure, with Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse is you can't have a staffer saying, "Hey, what's your name? Is this guy legit?" I'm sure there's some type of moderation there, but my gut feeling is that in 2022 there will be a dashboard. This is why I'm excited about Twitter Spaces. Twitter Spaces is going to be available on your browser.
Yeah.
So that I can sit in the comfort of my own sort of office and run the show, see what's happening, moderate. And I think this idea allows people to grab the mic, but also with some discernment to say, look, this person has something legitimate to say, but let's be careful. They might not necessarily be on topic, and we have to have some facility to screen them. Is that sort of what you're thinking might happen?
Well, part of it, I've already seen this happen in Clubhouse, and I was not a party to the original problem, but like everything else online, there are trolls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There are lots of trolls, and a woman was badly abused in a room, so much so that many others spoke out, and they had to get someone from Clubhouse, from the staff, to deal with the fallout. They had a room that ran on for hours. Unfortunately, the person they brought into the room to deal with this had been with Clubhouse 2 weeks.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
Now,
okay.
Heart of gold, this young man, absolutely, but he was very
technology.
limited in how he could help, because he had about as much working knowledge as the people in the room, and by people I'm talking 500 and upwards people in this room. I had only heard part of it, but this is seemingly a much more common problem. People have been banned, people have been removed accidentally early on. You could ask to have someone removed, and they didn't really do a good job of sort of vetting who was and wasn't asking for removal. So there, like anything else, there's growing pains. We saw it in Hangout days. We saw it in Zoom. We saw it in Blab. I could go on for 14 different platforms. You're always going to have that unsavory element that kind of comes in and tries to ruin the party for everybody else.
Well, let me pick up on what you're saying there. The reason why I'm very interested in playing this idea of what we call grab the mic in the Clubhouse Twitter Spaces idea, that's one of the major advantages of this social audio experiment, that people in the street can participate and ask a question of Elon Musk and Richard Branson and Gary Vee and Grant Cardone. Yes, but
okay. But here's the thing. If you want to ask a question of one of those people, you're going to be waiting with your
Forever.
hand up
Oh,
or on the
maybe
stage
they
for
just won't get to you, will they?
hours.
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 Because
Yeah.
you can have 5,000 people in a room. But
Well,
what
they're not going to let them all on stage. They're not that crazy.
But what I'm really interested in is now what we're now starting to affectionately call hybrid events. This is a very incredibly useful segue. You have social audio, Twitter Spaces, Clubhouse, whatever comes next. What did you call it? Hotline is Facebook's version.
Yeah.
But
Discord is fabulous.
we're now starting to talk about the idea that if you can't go to in-person events or you're not inclined to, and you're not particularly interested in virtual events, we've now got this thing called a hybrid. And this is the way that'll probably play out. You've got people in a room, but you've got a screen at the back with someone talking. That's one version. I've spoken at several of these myself. But you've also got a moderator with lots and lots of people calling in from around the world. Right? And I'm very interested in this model because we're running a series of events very soon on Run the World, where we will have this type of experience, a visual experience, but we'll have the ability for people to grab the mic. They'll be able to, people in the audience watching will be able to say, oh, I've got a thought. Can I speak? Can I speak? Pick me. And that's why I'm very interested in the moderation piece, because it'll be up to the host or the moderators to make sure that the person that does speak speaks with discernment and with honour and respect. And I think that's quite a hard thing to do. Would you agree?
Not only would I agree, we've actually seen it happen in Clubhouse that people had to come up with some kind of courtesy, some etiquette, some kind of rules in order to bring people up. And you'll find a lot of rooms. Mark Sefton out of the UK, he writes for Entrepreneur Magazine and a few others. He does Brains Magazine. He actually reads about every 7 minutes. He reads, there's only 3 rules. It's be succinct. You start and end with your name and tell them when you're done speaking, because there's nothing worse. I think, Gail, you'll agree with Deborah as well. There's nothing worse than dead air.
Yeah.
And having people come in all the time. What's kind of frustrating for a lot of people, people don't always listen to what's being said.
Yeah.
And when a moderator tells you to come in and just go ahead and ask your question, and people keep coming in and they thank you for having me, and it's like, does nobody listen anymore? You were just told to do X, Y, Z, and you did none of it. And the other one that you see everywhere in, Facebook Live and everywhere else is, can you hear me? Can people hear me? It's like, oh my God. If people couldn't hear you, somebody'd say something, just talk.
Yeah. It's you don't have to get into like the whole secret handshake kind of.
Yeah.
Hey, Larry, how are you
Thank
doing,
you.
dude? Yeah, what's going on?
Wow.
First time caller, first time listener. It's like
There's no preamble, is there? There's no preamble.
no,
There's
just
no time for
just
preamble.
spit it out, dude. Yeah,
Exactly.
spit it out, dude.
Yeah.
And what do you think, Debbie? Do you think there's a place for the idea of taking this StreamYard type experience into a more egalitarian, if that's the right word, where everyone gets a chance to speak and be part of the conversation? Can you see that working moving forward?
I mean, absolutely. And I think Elaine and Gail are covering it really well and talking about how that participation works. When it comes to trolling or going off topic or really being inappropriate, as I've read the Clubhouse rules, you have the opportunity to mute, to stop, if you're the moderator. Am I right, Elaine, with that? You can...
You
Turn it
could
off.
until a couple of days ago. It seems to
Oh,
not
okay,
be
that's how
working
new.
well.
Okay. I haven't had the opportunity to get onto it yet, but when I do, I mean, I think that's a valuable piece, and we have that with Zoom already. We already have that.
Yeah,
So-
well, in traditional radio, it's called a 5-second delay.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course, 5-second delay.
Yeah.
Isn't it 7 seconds?
Well, you have one for TV, and I think for radio, we just have 5 seconds because
5
you can
second delay.
see the screener through the glass.
It gives you a chance to push the kill button if they use the F word.
Exactly. But it's not the moderator that does that; it's the screener that does that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there's trolls in everything. It's not a new thing.
No.
Yeah.
Does the event, let's play this question out. I'm very interested in this question. Is the advantage of letting the people speak worth the risk? I mean, is it worth the risk of someone saying the F word live on air to hear what the average person in the street is thinking? Is that a piece of television that you would watch yourself?
There's an average person, and then there's a troll. A troll is only there to blow it up.
Yeah.
That's it, period.
That's a totally that you're trying to compare apples and oranges, and there's a lot of F-bombs, and there's a lot more in the cannabis rooms. I understand, but it's become part of the lexicon. Like, there's very few people anymore, I think, that don't swear, and people just kind of let it go. Yeah. That's not really what we're talking about. It's more the trolls that are there simply to cause chaos, to upset people, to hurt people's feelings. And it can, some people I've seen be absolutely, devastated, been crushed in video as well. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
As Gail said, they're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. The difference, Keith, though, you say grab the mic, that whole concept terrifies.
That's why I said he has to qualify it.
You got to qualify that. In a video, I can put up my hand, or Gail could tell me to shut up because I was talking over.
Never, Elaine. I would never.
We can see each other, so you can kind of judge a little better with video. When you're flying blind, it's a different thing for sure.
Yeah, and you can't let it happen, and especially if you're a woman in talk radio, they want to talk about what a sexy voice you have, and it's like you got 5 seconds to change the conversation, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not what it's about. Look, let me pick up on the second tier of this question. And what is the opportunities? I think Gail mentioned this earlier in the show. What are the opportunities with the conversations we've had today to grab or leave alone some of the things that are happening in the social media and online world? Where are the big opportunities? What's worth doing, and what should we leave alone? Anyone want to go first?
I have a thought on that. Excuse me. I have a thought on that. I mean, there's a couple of things. I mean, with the timeliness of social media, I mean, we can see things that are happening in the world in real time, which is just phenomenal. And it gives a chance for maybe the underserved or people that are marginalized to actually have a voice and to get seen.
It democratizes things, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I think it raises a level of awareness. I might bring up a really dicey subject here, but I mean, I think that's already happening right this second with the Israeli-Palestinian issue, and actually seeing what Palestinians are dealing with under this apartheid situation. So again, that's dicey. I know it's a very dicey subject, but it gives people who are in the trenches and aware of what is going on to actually live stream what's happening. And so we're getting more clarity from that, because it's not a broadcast. It's not where it's been massaged and maneuvered and set up nicely.
No packages, nothing.
No packages. That's what I meant by that. And it gives us a chance to do the real time stories. And then with the Clubhouse and the audio features, and Elaine, you talking about the rooms and so forth, and the topic measures. I was almost thinking of that, that could be set up like the Moth Hour, giving you a chance to tell your story. and really get
Yes.
up there.
Yes.
And I was like, that's cool. I mean, I loved that back in radio, and to transfer that into this platform could be really amazing.
Ira Glass on this format. My God, right?
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So lots of opportunities, lots of chances to tell stories, lots of chances to get right into the trenches. And I think that that's only increasing as, our world is opening up more, and the ability to get online, the ability to get onto these platforms is getting super easy.
Yeah. And
Unless
I
you're
think,
not invited to Clubhouse, which I saw that today. I'm like, I need an invite. This is like Gmail back in, 1999.
yeah.
So,
Well, let's end on that. We're coming up to the hour, and I want to give everyone permission to leave if they need to. It's 3 a.m. in
I got
Austria,
it.
10 at night in Ottawa, and 6 p.m. in 6 p.m.
Yes.
7 p.m. 6 p.m. 6 p.m. So I want to give everyone an opportunity to leave if they can. But the big question I have myself, being an Android user and a Twitter lover, what is Clubhouse too late coming to Android a year later? Will anyone bother? Will anyone bother trying Clubhouse now that we can already do it on Twitter Spaces? Are they too late, or is it going to rebirth them? I'd be very interested in that thought. Elaine?
It all depends what they love about it. And it has to be more than I don't have to take a shower. I don't have to put on a nice shirt. It's going to be what do they eat? Because they are actually customers, even though at this point they're not paying. So we would have to either take another 20 minutes and define what that love affair is, or is it too early to tell what that love affair is? Because it's not that old and we don't know what's pissing them off yet.
Well, it's a very interesting
Although
point
I
because
did hear this thing about where they went after this girl, and that I can imagine that was just dangerous and just somewhat horrifying, where they had to actually call someone in, and that's what we know about. We don't know how rampant that is. We don't know, and I'm not suggesting that it is here. I'm just saying if it happens once, it can happen twice, and a hot mic is a hot mic.
Yeah. Absolutely. But to speak to the Android thing quickly, because I will have to go. Jeremiah Aoyang, I may not be saying that right, but he's a big time marketer. He's into Android. He's into all these things. He opened up a beta room for Android users on Thursday or Friday. So it is of interest to Android users as well. Absolutely. There are lots of them in there in the beta, just like the Apple users. I think you have a certain level of people that are early adopters who want to try these things, and it really doesn't matter what the platform is or what the app is. Early adopters will just go try it for the sake of trying it.
it's in your blood, isn't it? It's in your DNA.
Yeah.
You and Chocolate Johnny are cut from the same cloth.
Well, yeah, like seriously, got a tablet to try it out.
Yeah.
But I'm an Android girl.
Well, what about you? What about you, Debbie? Do you think that you're going to try Clubhouse now that you can, or do you think they've left it too late because you can already do it on Twitter?
well, I think there's still some of that FOMO, fear of missing out. I want to be at least try it and give it a roll and see what's happening. I think that that's something that Elaine brought up. It's a trend. Is it going to catch on? Is it going to be that trend that keeps moving and growing? That we don't know yet. But it's still that, hey, this is new, this is cool. And I say that coming from a marketer, coming from a sense of wanting to see that.
Yeah.
As for brands, I'm not so convinced that that's going to be the case, because brands are wanting to be convinced that their audience is there and their audience is listening. And I don't know if that's been, again, I haven't been in the rooms yet, so I haven't had the opportunity to try it out. But, having, the brands be a part of it has to ensure that their target audience is there and listening and engaging. So, and
Yeah.
if that's not the case, they're gonna punt it, because not everybody belongs on every platform. We
Yeah,
all
right.
that's true.
Of course.
That's true.
Well,
So
let
true.
me wrap
One
it, let me
thing-
wrap it up.
Just
did
let
you
me
want to say
say
one
one
last
thing
thing?
to
Yeah?
Debbie's. Let me say one thing to Debbie's last comment. People do business with people, not businesses. So brands have to get in on whatever's coming down the pike in order to stay relevant.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a brilliant thought. Now let me finish this off by saying that we've been chatting an hour. We've been talking about the social media trends and how they relate to the current paradigm. More importantly, how the opportunities present themselves. But the very big story there in the banner is that we have a bigger show on Run the World on the 30th of June. We're using that hashtag Global Social Media Day 2021. So if you want to find out more about that, I want you to go to that hashtag. I want to just wrap up now and say a big thank you to everyone who came on the call today. Elaine in Ottawa. Let me just bring that up as a nice banner. Elaine in Ottawa, Gail in LA, Deborah in Vienna, and my name is Keith Keller and I'm in Melbourne, Australia. So I want to thank you all for coming on the show. We're going to do more of these soon, and please come to our big event on the 30th of June. See you all later.
I'm going to connect with you two gals. I like you.
I think you're wonderful. Thank you so
Thank
very
you.
much. Take care. Good night.
Bye. Thanks. Bye.
Good
Bye.
night. Deb, we have to talk soon. Gail, I'll get you an invite too.
Okay, perfect.